Hello, good evening. How are you doing today? Hope you all are doing well. It's a beautiful day. It was about to rain here, but we thank God it didn't finally rain. So, how is the day going in your area? How are you all doing? Let me try to add my banners. I can't see anyone here for now, but I know they are going to be joining me soon. Whew, it's a wonderful day. Thank you. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. Our midwife really wanted to join me on this topic. I don't know if she'll be able to join me. 1 minute, please. Oma, Abeg, come. I can't believe I'm doing this on live. Transfer me orange credit, please. Thank you. Okay, so we're here, and I'll be starting in a few minutes. If you're around, please drop a comment. I'm sorry for that noise. Drop a comment so that we can start. It's a very, very interesting topic today. I've been doing research and I feel like continuing. I feel like I should just keep reading things. And it's so amazing how ignorant we are when we get pregnant. Like, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. Maybe those who work in the medical system might know something, but most times we don't know as much as we're supposed to know, which is why I would say that it's God who really guides us during pregnancy. Because just the things I found out during this research, wow, it's amazing. So, today we'll be talking about your first antenatal visit and what is to be expected. I'm so sorry about the noise. I hope these guys can just finish as soon as possible and go home. Because as far as they're here, you'll be hearing their voices. But don't mind them. We are going to have our session and we are going to learn and we're going to get out of here with some new information and some new things. Hope your day has been going well. If you are watching us live, please leave a comment. Just leave something so we can go on with the topic. Okay, it's a wonderful day. Like, the research has been beautiful and I just feel like learning more. I am tempted to maybe play the voice notes which I got from our midwife if she cannot join me here. I would play some of the voice notes which I got from her so that you guys can get it one-on-one from somebody who spends most of her time in the hospital. I like her so much because she's so caring about her patients. And oh, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. So I might have to play her voice notes if she can't join me. She really told me she wants to be here with me today, but you know, in the hospital system, you cannot really determine how your life goes as far as you're working for somebody. So if she's not here, in some cases, I might play her voice notes so that it's going to be more fun. So I went on to ask about some of the tests. You know that there are things which we do when we are pregnant, and after pregnancy, we forget those things so easily. And I couldn't even remember the tests which I did while I was pregnant. So I had to go back to my midwife and ask her because she was there during the first day of my antenatals and she works in the hospital, so she could send me a list of their tests that they do. And then I had to ask some other midwives in some other hospitals so that they give me a list of all these things. But first, when you get to the hospital on your first antenatal visit, which should be between 6 to 8 weeks latest, the first thing which they'll ask you is the last day you saw your period. This one is very normal. So try to track. If you're not yet pregnant, just start tracking because that day they are going to ask you. And if you can't tell, it's going to be like you're a dummy, right? Because you're supposed to know these things. You're supposed to know these things. So try to track, plot on a calendar, plot somewhere so that you can know the last day you saw your period. The next thing they are going to do is they are going to ask you to take your weight. They are going to check your BP. Those are normal routine things which they are going to do. And then it's going to get a little bit more serious. Now, I'm going to try to explain some of the tests which they are going to ask you to do. I remember on my first day of antenatals, I think that was about 8 weeks of pregnancy. Yes, 8 weeks of pregnancy. That's when I went for antenatals because I didn't even know when to go. And according to me, I thought it was early, but it wasn't. So my first visit for antenatals was at 8 weeks of pregnancy. And it was a beautiful one. This session is going to be beautiful because I'm going to be chipping in my story, my pregnancy, my pregnancy experience from time to time. Now, it was so funny today. I asked the ladies on the Nyango WhatsApp group of ladies who actually finished their pregnancy drugs, because there are some routine drugs which they give. If you've been pregnant before, you know that. And you're expected to take drugs like every day. For me, I felt there were times which I said, I'm just pregnant, I'm not sick. What's the need for all these drugs? But with my research now and studying about birth defects and the other topics we've talked about on this platform, I've learned so much. And if I have to get pregnant again, then I'll be more careful because I know how important these things are. I feel that mothers most times don't take their drugs because they don't know how important those drugs are. At times you go to the hospital and they're asking you to do a lot of tests for your first antenatal visit, and you're complaining of money because you don't know how important those tests are for you and your baby. But today I'm going to be telling you everything about them with the help of our midwife. She has sent me voice notes, so if she can't be here, I'm still waiting for a reply. If she can join me, I'll be so happy because she told me and she was very certain about the fact that this is a topic she really wants to talk about. And I was really hoping to give her a chance, but if she can't join, then I'm going to play her voice notes to give her the honor to make it seem like she was here and she did what she would have wanted to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be using my phone a lot. So please, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone to the notes I have made. I made notes in my book. Do you have your book? I always say try to always have your book because these things, you can't keep them in your head, right? Try as much as possible to jot from time to time because you never know when you might need these things. So I always have my book. I have my jotting to my book. You see how much they are. These are just 2 pages. There are other things that I wrote behind because apart from listening to people who are actually in the field, I had to go online and get experience from doctors who are all over the world because I want to give you ladies the best. So thank you all so much for joining me. If you're here, I can see some people. Leave a message in the comment section so that I can acknowledge your presence. Please leave a message in the comment section. There's just one message that is making me to blush too much. Please leave a message so that message can pass and go up. Okay, if you're around. Now, I'm going to go on to the tests which you're supposed to do. After they have asked you expected delivery date, they have checked your weight, they have checked your BP, and they have done their normal routine things which they do. Now they are going to get into some real business. Now I'm going to be talking about each test and telling you why you are supposed to do that test. Most of the times when we go for that first antenatals and they are telling us to do so much tests, it is like the time which you spend the most once you're going for antenatals. So if you are starting your antenatals, please prepare your pocket for that first day which you're going because you're going to spend a lot of money doing all these tests. But most hospitals don't make you, there are so many tests which you have to do, so many to make sure that your baby is safe. But most hospitals choose the ones which they know are very, very necessary, especially African hospitals whereby you have to pay for the cost of the tests. There are hospitals which maybe the government has subsidized these things and they are maybe cheaper or they are free for the health of the baby. But in most hospitals, you have to pay for your tests. So most hospitals around here have kind of made it in a way that they reduce the tests. They don't make it to do all the thousands of tests. They reduce them to the most important ones. So right here we have 14 tests which you have to do, which are very, very necessary. Hello, Lady Tazi Song. Thank you so much for joining. We have 14 tests here which you're supposed to do. which are extremely necessary. I'm going to start with number one, which is obstetrical ultrasound, or as we call it, echography. Now, when you go for your first antenatal visit, which should be done between the first 6 to 8 weeks, I'll keep repeating this particular thing so that we don't stay home with our pregnancy, because during this period, that is the period where most of the parts of the baby is forming, and your nutrients have to be up there. You have to be in top health to be able to nourish your baby. So you have to go for antenatals as fast as possible. Now, the first test which you'll be asked to do is the obstetrical ultrasound, or echography as we normally call it. Why do you have to do this echography? This is because this echography confirms if you're actually pregnant, because there are cases whereby maybe your pregnancy strip which you used to do your test at home could have shown positive, but then you are not actually pregnant, which is the case of, maybe as they call it, blighted ovum, which is a case where the sac where the baby is supposed to sit in actually forms, but the baby doesn't form inside. In this case, the sac has to be flushed so that all those tissues can get out of you, because that is not a pregnancy that will turn to anything good. Because if the sac forms and the baby is not inside, it normally has to be removed, because if it is left there, it's going to cause a lot of complications. Wow, welcome, Lady Sophie. Thank you so much for joining. I'm seeing Lady Cynthia. Thank you so much for joining as well. You're welcome. Okay. Lady Stephanie, thank you so much for joining. Thank you all for joining. So I'm going to go on with the reasons why you have to do your ultrasound and the periods in which they'll expect you to do ultrasounds. Now, I'm taking one particular hospital as a case study here, which is the hospital which I did my antenatals. This is Solidarity Hospital, Boya. It's a very good private clinic. I will talk about them all the time because their midwifery section is something else, out of this world. Their midwives are so caring and so nice. So if you're pregnant and you're looking for somewhere to get such good care, then you can go there. You're welcome, Lady Mata. Thank you so much for joining. So now, in your obstetrical ultrasound, which you're expected to do it 3 times during pregnancy, the first one within 4 to 8 weeks, which is the first time which you have to start your antenatals to confirm that you're pregnant, and also to give you your expected delivery date. While talking about expected delivery date, I would like to say that your expected delivery date is not an expiring date. So when you actually arrive at your expected delivery date, please don't expect to vacate your little tenant inside you, because it's not an expiring date. Expected delivery date is usually 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late. Some people give birth on their expected delivery dates. It is estimated at 4%. That 4% of women give birth during your expected delivery date. So if you can still give birth during your expected delivery date, or 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late, that's not a problem. So I've said that the reasons for this ultrasound is to confirm your pregnancy and to give you your expected delivery date. That's the reason for the first ultrasound which you're supposed to do. That is echography. The second ultrasound is supposed to be done between 24 to 26 weeks. This is to check if all the parts of the baby are intact, if the baby has formed perfectly well, and everything matches every other part perfect. So that is the reason for the second echography. And the third echography is supposed to be done between 36 to 37 weeks. This is the period where you're almost giving birth, to check the weight of the baby and also to know how the baby has grown, if the baby's kidneys and other parts are formed well and the baby is ready to be birthed. So I know someone will be thinking, but none of these echographies is to tell you the sex of the baby, because the sex of the baby is just something which you might want to do. It's not obligatory for you to know. So if you don't want to know the sex of your baby, it's totally okay. But your doctors will obviously know by 24, 26 weeks, they should know the sex of your baby. And if you're probably having multiple pregnancy, they should be able to know by 4 to 8 weeks. Yeah, I remember when I went for echography, it was so beautiful, because I was going for normal echography. I didn't know they could tell me whether I'm carrying 2 babies. I never even thought I would be carrying twins, though I've been praying for it. And then when the lady was like, you're a mani, small mani. I was like, oh, small mani, how? Sorry, if you are not a Cameroonian, in Cameroon, they call mothers of twins Manye. And I was like, Manye, how? She was like, you're pregnant with twins. See, I felt so special. I felt so good. I, I cannot even explain how I felt. My God, that was like the best news I had heard in my life. Like you're carrying twins. Oh my God, I felt like a queen. I felt, oh my God. Let me not go into that story because if I start, I'm not going to end. Now, let's go to the next test which you're supposed to do. The next test which you're supposed to do is a test for chlamydia. I would like to, before we go to chlamydia, I would like to play. Please, if you're there and you can hear me clearly and you can hear this voice note clearly, please indicate so that I can play our midwife's other voice notes. She really explains this in a very nice and fun way. I don't want to summarize anything that she has said. That's why I'm thinking of playing her voice notes. Okay, so I really want you ladies to talk to me right now. If you can hear the voice note from my phone very clearly, please let me know.
Okay, let's start with obstetrical ultrasound.
Can you hear her?
Obstetrical ultrasound.
If you can hear her, please leave a like.
We recommend 3 ecography. The first one is to be sure that it's a pregnancy, because sometimes you can come like that you are pregnant, but it's blighted ovule.
Okay, we had some small internet issues. I'm just going to continue. Why is my internet box even? We had some small internet issues. I'll just play you her voice notes. Please, if you can hear it, indicate in the comment section. I can see somebody leaving a like, which means they can hear it.
So, but if the pregnancy is confirmed that there is a fetus,
I don't know.
The second, you do the second one. That means as you come hospital, normally you're supposed to do the first one as early as possible, because at least 5 weeks or 8 weeks like that, because is to confirm that there's a baby inside. Also to date, because the first ecography is that first ecography that will give you the let's say the right dates, approximately 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. But sometimes it will really give you the good dates, because the other ecography they work with the weight of the baby. So you may go there, they say you have to deliver maybe on the 30th of July, but the ecography will tell you that no, you deliver on the 15th because the baby is too big sometimes. So that's
thank God that you can hear.
That's all about the first ecography. The second one is to see if the baby is having all its parts. That means it grow well, it don't form well, or it bad.
So I really love listening to her because she explains so well.
Form well, or it bad, then they fine. The head corresponds for the chest, for the legs. Even normal. That's the second ecography. The third ecography. Is the baby too big? That's macrosomic. Is the baby too small for it? Is the baby lying well? Is the baby having a good position? Is the baby presenting with the head, or with the buttocks, or with the shoulder? So that's for the third. And the third ecography used to be at that kind of 36, 37 weeks, because after that, normally the baby will not turn again. Okay, the second one used to recommend at 24, 26 weeks. So that's for ecography.
So that was our midwife talking about the first test, obstetrical ultrasound. I love listening to her. Like when I listen to her, she mixes Pidgin with English. It's just so sweet in my ears. She's francophone, so please, you're going to be hearing her a lot like that. So let's go on. I'm going to leave here for a little while. I realized I left my internet box charger because it started to rain, so I was so much in a hurry to get here. So I'm going to leave for a minute. The next time I play her voice note, I'm going to run and get my charger. Please permit me to do that, okay? I'm so sorry about that. But let's talk about the next test, which is chlamydia. Chlamydia is a sexually transmissible disease. Whew. This one causes a lot of abnormalities. It can cause miscarriage, it can cause preterm delivery, it can cause a lot of things. I think our midwife should just explain this one to you guys because she explains it so well. And if I have anything to add, I'm going to add after she finishes. It's a 1 minute 38 seconds voice note. So let's listen.
Chlamydia are sexually transmissible diseases where you take her through sex. Normally, it can cause a lot of damage. That means you may have it can cause an abortion. You can deliver before time. You may give malformations. You may deliver begin then it be blind. For example, when you get chlamydia, say that discharge them. If during delivery you touch begin eye, the begin will be blind. So we used to they do it every 3 months. So there is a treatment. So that's why it's good to come hospital as early as possible. When you discover that you're pregnant, you first come hospital because something that they will feel easily immediate. You understand? But if you can't, even if you can't discover, we'll still give you treatment. Because but the treatment is long. That means you can take the treatment from 3 to 6 weeks, which is too long. So it's good that you should come as early. When you come, you discover that it is there, treat it because it's making a lot of miscarriage, a lot of abortion, a lot of, when I say spontaneous abortion, not be say now you can cause some, you understand now. So chlamydia is a very, very bad sick that we
Okay, that was it on chlamydia. As she said before, chlamydia is a very, very bad sick. Did you ladies hear? So try as much as possible to check yourself for this particular one because it can cause a lot of malformations and a lot of things. All these birth defects which we're talking about the other day, most of them are caused by infections. Most of them. So you have to try as much as possible to do your test. I would say have just one sexual partner and just be safe. Keep yourself safe because good health is better than all these things that life has to offer. So just be safe. Okay, we are going to go on to electrophoresis. This one talks about the AS, SS, sickle cell, and all the like. Most times we are supposed to do this particular test before marriage, but in most cases, love carries our heads and then we are not thinking straight. But please, I would like to advise us to do what we have to do in the right time. Because what if you're already pregnant and then what if you're already pregnant and then you realize that you and your partner, you don't match, as in the children that you give birth to will just be sick, and you'll be spending money and you're bringing a child to the world, which the child is just going to be suffering. So we have to do what we have to do. If you're AS, please don't get married to a person who is AS. If you're SS, don't even think of getting married to somebody who is SS. You don't want to give birth to those kind of children. I've said my own. Let's move to the next one. This one, our midwife did not have so much to say, so I'm not going to play her voice notes. But if you want to listen to it, just leave a comment in the comment section and I'll play it for you guys. I like listening to her. I like listening to her so much. So we are going to the next one, which is rubella. Rubella is related to, it's called German measles. It's related to sicknesses like measles and those kind of things. It is caused by a virus. It can be contaminated through sweating, saliva, and all those things. And it is very, very dangerous during pregnancy. It is one of the things which causes cleft lip and palate, spinal bifida, which we talked about the other day. So you have to try as much as possible to test for rubella. And some of these diseases can pass through the placenta and get to the baby. So if you are tested for it and you test positive, then your gynecologist will have to think of ways to help you solve this situation if it has not already gotten to your baby, right? All of these things have ways that you can solve them. Apart from issues like the electrophoresis test, which if you are discovered not to match with your partner, they can tell you and advise you there that you guys should please part. Apart from a test like that, which it calls for something very severe, like you leaving your partner, the other things, there are drugs which you can be given if it is discovered early. It is very, very important for these things to be discovered early, because if they are discovered early, they can be sorted out before your baby is developing, and it will not cause a lot of malformations. But if they are not discovered early, you stand a chance of losing your baby. You stand a chance of so many risk factors, which is something that you shouldn't even get yourself into, which is why you need to do these tests. Now, apart from the fact that we said rubella causes a lot of malformations, it is responsible for cleft lip and palate and other defects like spinal bifida. Take note. So if you are discovered to have rubella, they'll probably give you some drugs. Now, there is a test. The next test is TPHA/VDRL. That's the test for syphilis. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so complicated. I don't know the reason for the abbreviations. Okay, I'm going to play for electrophoresis from our midwife so you ladies can listen. I might play as well for rubella since I'm already done with explaining rubella, so that you can get for electrophoresis and then for rubella. I really wish she was here. She would have been so happy doing this.
Electrophoresis concerns sickle cell. If you know about sickle cell, is to know if you're a carrier or not. Because when you have partner away, you have a couple that they do their AS. They have 25% chance to 50% chance to born AS, 25% for born AE, and 25% for born SS. But some couple they feel be where they born all their picking they do AS. Some couple they feel born where all their picking they are SS. So to avoid that, because the sick is not good at all. They begin to suffer, you spend, at the end of the day, they are not. It's rare that they cross that age for 21, 31 years. Because they have crisis, all that thing. So to avoid that, normally these tests, so they're supposed to do it before they were married. But most of the couple, they just do the HIV, they just do hepatitis, they forget about this electrophoresis, which is very, very important. So we used to ask mothers to do, if the mother is AS, you call the spouse to come and do his own. If he is AS, we are going to counsel them that the marriage, that the marriage is not good for them, that they should still be together. They have to separate, but some of them they refuse to separate. Some of them they continue, they separate if they understand that the children that they are going to deliver will just be sick and sick. She's not good, because at the end of the day, they begin to suffer. But if the mother is AA, then it's okay, because you can marry marry even SS. They will never have a sick child. Let me put it like that. So that's what concerns electrophoresis.
Hope you heard. That is electrophoresis from our midwife. I like tapping from her knowledge. Like when I'm with her, I'm always asking her a lot of questions, because apart from the fact that she's such a wonderful person to talk to, she has a lot of knowledge. She's been in the field for 5 years plus. It's actually 6 years plus now. So you can imagine. So I'm going to play her voice note for rubella. This session is going to be a long one, so please prepare.
Rubella is in the same class with measles, mumps, all that. So we give most of them are malformations. I don't know, you know that cleft palate now, that one they so we open so for from nose to mouth, so that when their lips open so with the body, in short, there are many malformations that rubella can give, because if you have it, it can cross placenta. That's the problem with this sick, the wound, so it can cross placenta, and when it cross placenta, it go for pikin, it will be very dangerous. That's why most of the time when you are in the age, don't be even in the age, normally you're supposed to take folic acid in our food, even supplement folic acid.
I'm not the one saying it now. Last time I was talking about folic acids. Now our midwife is saying it. Please take your folic acids. If you're trying to conceive, please take your folic acids. It's very, very important. Let's continue.
Supplement folic acid, because most of the time we need to the quantity of folic acid that is required for 1 day. So when you are pregnant or waiting and you come hospital, that kind of when it's that kind of reach them, they advise you say you take folic acid. That folic acid help also to prevent malformation. That's congenital malformations, the malformation when they occur in the belly. So actually that folic acid can help for that malformation there. But most of the mothers, first of all, they are not taking balanced diet. Second, they will come hospital at 5-6 months. Sometimes they come for 7 months. Person will come register for 33 weeks. We something they way, if something they fulfill handle them since from the beginning, but now say it can late. Then at that moment you don't get no nothing, only for your eye for to cry and your money for spend. So nowadays it's very important that we should do the testing, because for rubella, when you have rubella positive, that's IgG and IgM, we send you for gynecologist. Then I go now see, he go do ecography, look whether the pikin no get no nothing. If no form of information, they begin they find the ego know now what next to do. Because sometimes some woman become for year way, if you get them plus chlamydia and syphilis, you discover say pikin no be their head, anencephalic pikin fetus. So we have to terminate the pregnancy at 8 months. When we move on, it become gay, we don't be gay head. Do you imagine that kind of thing? So now why it be very important that we should do, they should come early for hospital. But if you take this kind of thing early, I'm sure you can actually try to do something.
So you heard it from our midwife. She's saying the importance of doing your rubella test and the importance of folic acids and the importance of you just doing the things that you have to do at the right time. So that's rubella from her. I'm going now to syphilis, which is also an infection which can cause malformation, abortion, preterm labor, and so many things. So many things. I'm going to play her video for her audio for syphilis. I hope you're getting her clearly. For this particular topic, I decided to tap into someone who is actually at the hospital, because I might have been pregnant, but I'm just one woman. You hear the story she's telling us about a lady who came to the hospital at 33 weeks, who had chlamydia, she had rubella, she had syphilis, and the baby that she was carrying had no head. Those are the kind of things that these infections can do. You be carrying a child without a brain, you be carrying a child without maybe a head, you be carrying a child without maybe an anus. So there are just so many things that can happen, which is the reason why when these tests are done and they give you drugs, please try to take them. I'm guilty of this one. I cannot lie. I really, really hate drugs. And because I didn't understand the need for most of the drugs which I was given, there are times which I just skipped them. There are times which I was like, since I was also throwing up so much during pregnancy, I'll think of the fact that maybe I'll take the drug and then I'll vomit it. And I'll not just take it. But You see the information she's giving right here. These are things that midwives will not sit you down and tell you. It's not their fault. They have the information in their heads. They can tell you if they get the time. But one midwife has approximately 10 or 20 women to attend to in a day, which makes it impossible for them to give you this kind of advice. This is the reason why Inyango is trying as much as possible to tap from these midwives, bring it here to mothers so that we can learn. Because when I ask her questions, she'll give me her time. She'll talk to me because I'll wait. I'll not ask her questions when there's an emergency. I'll ask her questions before there's an emergency so I can give it to you ladies so you know before an emergency occurs. Before something occurs that you will need this knowledge, you should already know what to do. You should already know the reason why they're prescribing these drugs for you. Because knowledge is power. If you don't know the reason why they are giving you these drugs, you might be tempted not to take them. Right? Like in my case, there are times which I skipped my drugs because I was like, but what's the need for me taking these drugs? Most of us get into pregnancy without knowing anything. Excuse me. And the worst thing is we didn't see our mothers taking drugs. So when they start giving us too much drugs, we are like, but I'm not sick, I'm just pregnant. So these things are very, very important. I'll go to her explanation for syphilis. Okay, let's go on. It's kind of low.
Disease which can cause malformations, abortion, premature delivery, premature labor. But for the malformations,
can you hear her, please? This particular voice note is low. Please let me know if you can hear her. I'll just continue playing it.
Water inside the eye. So it can cause blindness. Then when you want to that shallow pushing eye, normally it can cause you can be blind for life because of that.
Okay, I'll just talk about it. I talked about syphilis before, and I said that it causes a lot of malformations. This particular voice note, I guess she just closed from work as she told me. So she was very, very tired when she sent this particular voice note. So I'm just going to explain it myself. Syphilis is a sexually transmissible disease and usually causes discharges and other things. And during pregnancy, it causes malformation. It can cause spontaneous abortion. That is not abortion that you induced. That is abortion like miscarriage, rather. So it can also cause preterm labor. It can make the woman go into labor before time. It can also cause this case where you see babies are born with these very big heads, which is water that is remaining inside. That is a malfunction which is also attached to spinal bifida. This is why I keep on saying that it is very, very important to keep yourself clean. Don't pee anywhere as a woman. Don't just go anywhere and you pee. I cannot say hold pee, but please be cautious of where you go to ease yourself, okay? Because most times these diseases are sexually transmissible, but if you have a weak system as a woman and you go and pee somewhere where someone who has these infections has peed, it can cross, since our systems are very open. So let's just watch out for that. There is a treatment for syphilis, which is usually done by 4 to 6 weeks of pregnancy. And the treatment will be determined on how long you've had the particular infection. So it will be determined on how serious or how long you've had the infection. So that's it about syphilis. The next test which we are going to talk about is hepatitis B. And I guess her voice note now is a little bit loud, so she's going to explain to us about that. But I would like us to know that hepatitis B is kind of like a virus, like HIV virus, something like that. And it's more dangerous because it can be contaminated. You can get it through sweat, you can get it through blood, you can get it through through any kind of contact, saliva. So it's more dangerous because it's easier to catch. So let's hear what our midwife has to say about hepatitis B.
Hepatitis B, anytime we hear about hepatitis, it concerns liver. So that's another sexually transmitted infection. But not only sexual, you can catch hepatitis B virus from blood, from tears, from sweat. That contact now. So when I say virus, it's not really a virus. Let me just put it so for now. So hepatitis B is more dangerous than HIV because
Did you hear her better? Let me know if you could hear her better.
HIV at least is only blood contacts. That one be sure because saliva, even though it did, but you cannot transmit. So hepatitis B is very dangerous because you can have a woman enter taxi or some person with hepatitis B is sweat. That one so just catch it. Then you don't get cured. That's another problem. You can prevent it through vaccine. If you take vaccine, when you don't do your test, you come negative, you take a normal vaccination, these doses. But once you don't get it, it's not get cure. But so hepatitis B, they will be dormant, where it cannot transmit for the other person. So hepatitis B, they will be active, where you can transmit. And hepatitis B, blood, let me say, if blood drop or sweat drop for like 72 hours, you can see catch it. That's why it's more dangerous than HIV. So what we used to do is that when the woman is hepatitis B positive, we advise her to buy the vaccine for the baby. She will do the panel to know whether it be active or not. Then when as immediately she born, she deliver, they vaccinate the baby. Then after that, the baby will start taking normal vaccination. This thing, you start come for the normal vaccination rendezvous. So that's all about hepatitis B.
Okay, that is what she has to tell us about hepatitis B. And the next test which you have to do is toxoplasmosis. This is a test which this is a situation which if you have it, if you're tested positive, it can cause like madness. When you have crisis, it's something like let me describe it like something which we maybe know about. It's like asthma, which when you have crisis, you have breathing problems. With toxoplasmosis, when you have it, if you have a crisis, you can actually remove your dress and kind of run mad. So children who are born with this particular issue usually grow up to behave abnormal, and also they have issues. There are these children who usually behave what we call imbeciles. Yes. So the children are usually like that. So it is usually advised for the mother to do that test to make sure that she does not have this. I'll just play her voice note so you understand it better.
Toxoplasmosis is a virus that is supplying to the brain and make us behave like fool. So when you have the crisis, it really make you like saying move close, you are a really mad person. And it can cross placenta, as I said. So that's why we really recommend that one should do it, because you can, since it can cross placenta, you can make the baby, if the baby has it normally, the chances to stay alive are really slim. Because most of the babies that we have so at birth, so the one we survive by struggling, they usually be mad. That means when I say no, they usually have growth retarded mentally growth retarded, that's what they used to be. So they will behave some funny way, which is pleasant. There is a treatment. The treatment too is really long, 6 weeks. I'll show you 6 weeks. So that's another. And then sorry, dogs.
Oh, my phone is giving us cold spirit. So she's explaining toxoplasmosis. I hope you're getting her.
Sorry, dogs. They catch dogs. The source is pussycat. So that's this pussycat that is the source. Then I became some picture for that for this dogs, but since my phone they just go off and on. I don't lost the picture. It will show you how a pussycat the gear for that means gear for human being, gear for beef. That means gear. So it will show you how a pussycat the gear for that means gear for human being, gear for beef, gear for meaning. That's why when you're pregnant, normally even the rubella, so when you're pregnant, normally you're supposed to avoid pussycat as much as possible. We did that for this they hair, so since the ever move here, you know, fine. That also that also to the give malformations. Most of the time I have malformation and that thing they affect brain. That's a problem. It can be for cow meat. That's why it's good to cook your cow meat make it done, because you can have toxoplasmosis from cow meat, from pussycat, from crayfish also. It's good to cook food and make it done really. So that's the summary.
Okay. So Lady Martha is saying I didn't get the source, please. Now there are some advice that they give you when you're pregnant. One, for most African people, your midwives will tell you to stay away from cats. Also, they'll tell you to maybe reduce your consumption of red meat, or you should not eat meat that is made by the roadside, and you should cook your meat very well. So this particular advice goes with toxoplasmosis because, as she said, it is a virus that climbs the brain and makes you behave abnormal. And if it transfers through your placenta and gets to your baby, the baby might not survive, or the baby might be born and then the baby might have mental retarded growth. So toxoplasmosis mostly comes from cats. She says mostly from the hair, but what I have researched about and I've gotten is that it can also come from the feces of cats. So it is advised that if you have a cat, no matter what you're doing, don't change the poop of the cat, because the bacterials which transfer this particular disease and rubella are found in the hairs of cats, these particular hairs on their nostrils and their poop, and also in red meat. So if you have to eat red meat, you have to make sure you cook it very, very well. This is why pregnant women are not advised to eat by the roadside. But as we all know, pregnant women with their long throat, they want to eat everything. So please, from today, don't eat outside if you're pregnant, because your food needs to be well cooked so that you don't risk the life of your child and your own life. So that was it for toxoplasmosis. We are going to be going to HIV. No, vaginal smear before HIV. This is the one that I did not like, vaginal smear. I did not like this one at all. Do you ladies know why? So I'll now go to the lab, and a guy will have to get some discharges from your V. My God, what did I not see? The things that pregnancy can do to you. I don't have an option. They have to test you. What will you do? You just have to let him get what he wants to get and do your test so that you can be fine. So for vaginal smear, it's usually the discharge is usually taken from your V and tested. Lady Martha, your comment. So for vaginal smear, its discharge is usually taken from your V and tested. And it is tested for any infections or any abnormalities, because if your discharge has any infections, there is a risk of abortion, preterm delivery, and all those bad things. But anyways, let me just play our midwife's voice note on that.
Vagina smear, any infection we do for vagina, no good for pikin. So we ever recommend vagina smear. If there's any infection, they would fix it, obviously, either with ovules or with normal tablet or injection, depend on the one we see. But this one, the problem is not hygiene, because you should have the woman should have a very good hygiene. That's because some women, they put their fingers inside their vagina for cleaner, which is not good, because you know that we have normal flora. So when you're putting your finger like that in your vagina, you destroy your normal flora. You know, some bacteria, they did it for vagina for fight against the one way they come from outside. When you don't destroy your normal flora, be prone for any infection, vaginal infection, which is not good. So no put the woman should not put fingers in her vagina. She should not have long nails, because you know that dirty used to remain for nails. Then we used to recommend to wash vagina only with water. Only with water. Or this savon de basin, this our normal soap. Our normal soap we wash clothes, or we wash banding. That's but if you are washing your vagina, each time you pee, you wash your vagina with normal water, normal clean water. So when you don't wash your hands, say when you enter toilet, you have to wash your hands first before going out, you wash your hands again. Very important. Then it's also important to know that you have to wash your vagina before you wash your anus, because some people, they don't know, they wash their anus before they wash their vagina. And we all know say shit dirty. So if you take shit now and put up for vagina, obviously you must have infections. It's very good. Then we used to advise them to change pants at least 2 times for one day. Then they should dry their pants outside for sun outside. Then they should iron their pants too. So all that's in their matter.
So I hope you could listen to our midwife. She's explaining the things that could be involved with vaginal smear, and the things which you have to do to prevent it. I just love the way she explains. The way she explains, you can't stop smiling when she's explaining. So hygiene is very, very, very important when you're pregnant, because the least thing you catch an infection. Remember to always keep your hands clean. If you're washing down there, use plain clean water. And it is very good for you to have an extra towel for damping down there, and not the normal towel which you use to wipe your face and all other parts of your body. And remember, we wipe from front to back, not back to front. She has said it all. Let's go to the next thing. So the next test which you have to do is HIV test, which is very, very important as well. You don't want to give birth to a child who is sick. So you have to try as much as possible to know your status. Even before you get pregnant, it's very important for you to know your status. She sent a very short voice note on this one, and I'll play it for us to listen.
What we know about HIV now? HIV, that you can catch through sex, or there are any means. It's just that HIV does not stay for long for outside. That's a good thing. But When you come hospital, discover that you are HIV positive, they put you immediately on treatment if you were not before. You start the treatment, that's antiretroviral treatment. Then when you born, you give nevirapine syrup for the baby for 6 weeks before one can do the first test to know whether you're positive or not. But if you're negative, they ever advise that you continue your good sexual hygiene. That's lifestyle. Lifestyle. That's how I used to talk, that you should continue your normal and good sexual lifestyle. You don't forget that if you have, because you don't know if you have many partners, you should use condom. That's the only barrier methods that can prevent you from HIV. But even though it's not 100%, but at least it's 99 point. So that's all about HIV.
So, good sexual habits are very, very important, not just for you as a person, because you are supposed to take care of yourself as a human being, but for your future generation. If you have HIV, there are some chances that your child might have it as well. And you don't want your child going through that stress. So please have good sexual habits. Have just one partner. If you must do something, use protection. But the best advice I'll give you is abstinence. Just stay away, because even the protection is not 100%. Okay, we are going to go on to the next one, which is urinalysis. This one has a lot of information. A lot of information. The next voice notes have a lot of information, and I had to take hours and hours to research on this last blood test, because they had a lot of information to learn. So we are going to go on now with urinalysis, which is another test which is done on your urine to test your sugar levels and to test your sugar levels, the level of protein in your urine, and other things. Just listen to what our midwife has to say, and then I'll explain what I got from what I was researching.
Urinalysis is also to check your piss whether infections or not, which is all mostly urinalysis, vaginal, other solution, because you can actually deliver before time. That's premature delivery or seabed. Yes, you can also cause seabed. So we used to recommend to take a lot of water, at least 3 liters of water per day. But me, I used to ask even 4. Because when I say 4, you take at least 3. You know that water flush the flush system, then you do the flush the. So some small infection, then you will hardly get them, because if you drink at least enough water, then that hygiene, personal hygiene matter. So we used to advise to take a lot of fruit, take water, which is good too. Then hygiene, personal hygiene.
Okay, that is it for urinalysis. And you saw me drinking my water. Do you have your water with you? Make sure you have your water, because it's very, very important for you to be taking your water. You hear? Our midwife is telling us to be taking water. I'm not the only one saying it. So urinalysis is going to check all the things she talked about, because when you're pregnant, you're just supposed to try as much as possible to be as healthy as possible. You're not just taking care of yourself, you're building a human being inside of you. And your health needs to be top notch. Now let's go on to, excuse me, to malaria. Now this is the longest voice note she sent me. It's 5 minutes something. I hope you can listen to the end, because it has some very vital information. Malaria is very dangerous during pregnancy. So dangerous. So please listen to what she has to say.
Malaria, very, very dangerous during pregnancy. Malaria,
So I'm going to try to forward her voice note a little so we can listen to it in half the time. So let's just listen.
premature, all the same malaria be very dangerous during pregnancy. So any small amount of malaria will be the hospital. Because and there's what we call malaria placenta. You used to go to placenta. So there you cancel. You don't even get no signs and symptoms of malaria. So there you cancel. You get all signs and symptoms. Malaria will be this kind. So normally we treat according to the symptoms, signs and symptoms. So that's why we used to give mosquito net for free, so that at least we don't say no, it is for the mosquito net. Also, we recommend general hygiene. That means that's what we stand, that grass around the house. If you stay for corner bush, all that thing. You never stay, you never make 6-8 months race, okay? Plenty together, and then you just okay, we cancel for 37 weeks, 38 weeks, they can die from become malaria. So malaria is very dangerous. We consider it severe for people with malaria. That's why we use is among our routine tests. Malaria urinalysis for albumin and sugar and HB. So that ratio that we really assess every month, because we know say malaria this thing it cause anemia. That's why we also check HB. That HB is for no. You know, say you take a hospital, so you get blood for 9. Well, as you say, you take your blood medicine fine, or you be just fine, just assess for no. But if the next one you come again, then 9 or you don't be less than 9, we understand say malaria day we need show, we just treat you for malaria. You understand now? Now whether malaria and hemoglobin ever go together. So we for hospital, we check malaria every month, malaria urinalysis for sugar and protein. Because say sometimes if you see sugar for this, which is another sign that maybe there is diabetes in pregnancy. Most of the diabetes in pregnancy will finish when you born, but some remain. Then protein. You know that when you have protein in your urine, that's albumin. If you have protein in your urine, you have high blood pressure, you have edema on your foot that is swell, or another place is swell. You must say pre-eclampsia, that you know about pre-eclampsia. So you monitor to that one. Then eclampsia, now when you don't enter shock, let me say collapse. I forget what you say. So an emergency, you have to inject immediately to save you and the baby if you can, because somebody died that you can lose them soon. So that's why whenever you come to hospital, you take your blood pressure, you do for routine test now, you do peace for albumin and sugar, you do malaria, and you do HB. Yeah, HB is very important. So as I explained now for you, HB now for knowing the level of blood. Normally, someone in the way they need to take their blood medicine, someone in the way they need to find. So they ever get a blood medicine for be sure say at least if you take that blood medicine for that 30 days as we ask, if you want to for the next time before, the blood will value that way, because you never say we'll transfer someone 3 pints of blood. It tell you say they take, but at the end of the day, it doesn't know sometimes it boil for taking blood medicine. It can blood for 6.8, sometimes 7.1 or 7, which is not good. That hemoglobin there, so when you want born, now for the way understand with you, why would the other fights may be high? Because there's some person where he blood 15, for example, gram per deciliter. Then another person will blood 8 gram per deciliter. That person will blood 15. If you bleed 1 bucket for 5 liters, you don't get no problem. But you weigh your blood 8, you bleed 1 cup, 1 small cup, so you get very big problem. That's why at the end of the day, it does hemorrhage, postpartum hemorrhage, which can lead to death. That's why you receive it when you fight against that hemoglobin flow, that blood flow. Then we advise that you should eat more of vegetables. If you take the way you know, say no, it will boost your blood.
So that was it from our midwife. Malaria is very dangerous during pregnancy, and it can also lead to anemia. That is a case where you don't have enough blood. Now, this is very dangerous because you need blood for you to transfer nutrients to your baby. If you don't have enough blood, then you realize cases where not enough blood flow is going to a particular area, and maybe that particular area of the baby might not form. Like in the case of gastroschisis, which we talked about, it is because the blood flow to that area of the stomach did not flow well. That's why that crack is left there, and the other parts of the body form outside. Right? So you have to try as much as possible for your blood to be okay. Now, they'll usually give us figures in the hospital. Something which you need to know is, as a pregnant woman, your blood needs to be between 12 and 16. That is a good place. If your blood is below 16, they'll give you ions. Because when your blood is below 16, it is considered, below 12, it is considered as iron deficiency. But if your blood is lower than 10.5, then that is considered as a case of anemia, which is very dangerous during pregnancy, because if you have anemia and not supplying enough blood to your own body, then your baby will also have anemia, which can even lead to death. So it is very important for us to take our water, eat fruits and vegetables, and do what we have to do to stay healthy while we're pregnant. There are some things that she talked about which I would like to um, talk more on. She talked about urinalysis, which is done to test your sugar and your protein in your urine. And if there is sugar in your urine, it indicates diabetes during pregnancy, which is something which is dangerous as well. But most times after pregnancy, your sugar levels go down, which can be okay. But in some cases, your sugar level doesn't go down and you remain with diabetes. But normally, most women have diabetes during pregnancy, and it is not a very severe situation, except if the sugar in your urine is really much. Now, talking about preeclampsia, this is a condition which happens mostly in the third trimester of pregnancy, and some of the indications or symptoms of preeclampsia is high blood pressure in pregnancy and protein in your urine. This is why your urine is tested. And another thing which might indicate preeclampsia is swollen legs. Though swollen legs normally happens to pregnant women, but it's at times indicates preeclampsia. So apart from that, we'll talk about the next test, which is blood group. It is very, very important. Please give me a minute. It is very, very important for you to know your blood group. As a normal person that you are, you have to know your blood group. Like if you're in Africa and you don't know your blood group, I don't know what you're doing to yourself, because we live in a society whereby if you fall today, we don't have systems in which they can just maybe use your card and sweep it somewhere and get all your medical information. This is why most people have died. Most diabetes patients have died because they had maybe an accident or something like that, and they were rushed to the hospital. And the first thing that most times nurses give in the hospital is glucose. So somebody who has diabetes is rushed to the hospital, and then that person is given glucose, of which the person has diabetes, and that will only rise the blood sugar levels, and that is a problem. But because we don't have systems in which they can easily take your card or just type your name into a system and all your history comes out, and then they know what to give you and know what you're allergic to, we have to be very cautious. It is very, very important to know your blood group, because also it is very important for most women to have, we have different blood groups such as O, A, AB, and yes, I said O before. Now, if your blood group is positive, you are in a very good place as a woman. But if you have a blood group which the rhesus factor is negative, say maybe you have A negative, B negative, AB negative, or O negative, and your partner has a positive, if you give birth to children like that, the first child might survive, but it might lead to cases in future where you get pregnant and after a month, 2 months, you lose the pregnancy, a lot of miscarriages, because this is a case of rhesus incompatibility. Lady Giselle talked about this the other day. Rhesus incompatibility can cause miscarriages after the first pregnancy. So it is very, very important for you to know your blood group, because if you know your blood group, you can dictate if you are compatible with your partner or not. And also, it is advised most times that when, in a case where you have a negative and maybe your partner has a positive, after delivery, you're giving a particular injection. Our midwife calls it anti-D, but another name which I got from online is HROgram. So that's an injection which is given to prevent the occurrence of complications and all. So the last test which you're expected to do is stool test. The stool test is just to see if there's anything in your stool which is not good during your pregnancy, any infections or anything which is not good. And if you are okay or you're not, they'll usually give you warm medicines. And this is usually given between 16 to 17 weeks of pregnancy. So that is it for the tests which are done in the hospital, which I did my antenatals. Excuse me. In other hospitals, they could do a lot more tests and they have their reasons for it. But these tests, if you carry out all these tests and you are negative and everything is okay, then you are in a good place. You have a higher chance of giving birth to a healthy baby, right? So it is very important. So it is very important for you to do these tests because they determine so much how healthy your pregnancy is going to be. Now, after you've carried out all these tests, this is what is going to determine the amount of drugs they are going to give you. Very, very true. Very, very true. Thank you so much for that timely contribution. I can't say everything. I can't say everything here. Thank you so much. And I need you ladies to be contributing like this so that you can say things which, because I try to summarize as much. I'm looking at my time and I'm trying to summarize. So that is very, very true. So we have to try as much as possible, right? To take our drugs. Because whatever drugs you are given, for example, if you are seen in a case where you probably have, excuse me, it's very cold here. In a case where maybe you have any of these diseases, you have maybe chlamydia, you have rubella, or you have any of the diseases, though we don't pray that you should have any of them, and you are giving drugs, and then you go home and this wasn't explained to you very well as the reason why you are giving those drugs, and you go home and you're not taking your drugs, you're causing more harm to yourself than good. You're really causing so much harm to yourself. So please try to take your drugs, okay? Try as much as possible to take your drugs because your drugs are given. I'm trying to write something here. Your drugs are given according to your condition. When all these tests are taken, then your drugs will be given. So please try to take your drugs. They might be hard sometimes to take them. So there are times which you feel bored to take them because taking drugs every day is not easy. But you have to try to take them because they are very important for you and for your baby. So that will be it for our talk on today. Lady Tazisong asked the question, and I'm working on. Okay. I'm trying to check comments in my phone because I'm not seeing your comments timely. I see notifications that comments are coming in and I'm not seeing them on my screen. That's why you see me touching my phone because I'm trying to get the comments and then get if there are questions for me to respond to them. Whew, approximately what's the cost? My midwife didn't tell me that. And normally you won't expect them to tell you that because if you expect them to tell you that, you might maybe ask from them and then go and ask from another hospital and then you choose to go to the cheaper one. Because normally us human beings love places which are cheaper, but as it is said, cheap is usually more expensive because it's better to go to an expensive place and you get all your tests done and you know you're in the right health condition to nourish your baby than for you to go to somewhere which is cheap and then you don't get all your tests done. But I can't remember how much we spent. But if I would try to put an average, I think it was 70 something thousand to 100,000 which you spent that day on all the tests. Yeah, lady does some say that's about 50,000 francs running all that. And after I'm talking about 70 something thousands because after doing all the tests, you are expected to buy some drugs, right? And normally, after you do all these tests, your normal routine tests will be hemoglobin, which is very important for your blood level to be okay, urinalysis, and malaria, since malaria is very dangerous during pregnancy. For the other tests like chlamydia, syphilis, they are done after every 3 months, and most times they'll be done on you again. But for routine tests, which you're going to be doing every month, you're going to be doing hemoglobin, malaria, and urinalysis to constantly check your protein and sugar in your blood. Now, on to Lady Tazisong's question. It is usually said that when you are pregnant, right, your mammalian fluid is okay, but by 34 to 36 weeks, it starts reducing slowly. But it doesn't reduce in the kind of quantity that maybe your baby can get dry. Because if you picture the sac where the baby is, if you picture the womb, it's like it's somebody who is swimming in water, like maybe a fish, for example. My examples are usually very crazy, but it's say like a fish in the water. That maybe fluid will never reduce to an extent where maybe the fish's head is out of the water and they are struggling for breath. No, it wouldn't reduce to that extent. But it reduces slowly, very, very slowly. Okay, that was it for our talk of today. It's been a very, very long one, but also it was a very, very interesting one. So once your blood is tested, I would like to mention this. To make sure that your blood is always at a good level, you will always be on ions. You will always be on calcium, because the baby needs calcium to build the bones, and you yourself need calcium because you're providing calcium for the baby. You will mostly be on calcium. You will mostly be on what other one? Vitamins. You mostly be on vitamins because most times we don't get all the vitamins that we need from food. You mostly be on folic acids. Those are things that you might take every single day till you give birth, and maybe some few weeks after birth. So be ready to take these 4 drugs. If your drugs aren't because you have malaria or because you have any other condition, please take your drugs. They're very important for you and for your baby. That was it for today. I've been here so long, and it was a very interesting topic, very, very interesting one. And I learned so much myself from this topic. And I thank you all so much for joining me. Presently, I can see just one person around. Oh, I forgot to remind you ladies to share this video. Did you share? Please, if you're here, just share. Though I forgot to tell you, it was so interesting that I didn't think of telling you ladies to share. So it will be goodbye from me. It was a very beautiful session, a lot of knowledge being shared, and I'm so happy with all the comments. I'm going to call out the people who are around now and acknowledge their presence and say a little bit of thank you to you all. The first person who was around was my babe, my sweetheart. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayoketa, for joining on time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lady Tazisong, my ever vibrant lady. Thank you, Lady Sophie, for joining. Thank you, Lady Cynthia, for joining. Thank you, Lady Stephanie, for joining. Thank you, Lady Mata, for joining. Thank you so much, Lady Tambe Dorcas, for joining. Thank you, Lady Giselle Itala, for joining. Who else joined? I think that was all. Thank you, all ladies, for joining. This knowledge is very important for us because it will help us, not only us, but it will help our children. The next time you see someone who is not taking their prenatal drugs, please remind them of all these complications which might come up, and tell them and encourage them to take their drugs and visit the hospital because it is very, very important. Thank you so much, Lita Song, for sharing. Thank you so much. So it's going to be goodbye from me. My God, I've been here so long. My head is paining. So have a beautiful night. God bless you all. It'll be goodbye from me. Let's keep building and raising healthy moms with healthy homes while raising healthy, wealthy, and exemplary moms. Do have a beautiful evening and goodbye.